Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Gora Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Dvaita Chandra. Jaya Vishnupara Paramahansa Paribhaja Acharya Ashtotara Shatashishimad Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Sri Prabhupada Ki Sri Advaita Chandra Ki Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga Shri Hare Krishna. So I'm first of all, very happy to be here at the lotus feet of Shri Radha Parthasarthi, Shri Gornitai, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman, and their dear devotees. Thank you very much for your association. So today is the auspicious appearance day of Sri Advaita Acharya. And I would like to read one verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita where Srila Prabhupada describes briefly. But first of all, I will read the two verses that Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has established for the truth of Advaita Acharya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, first of all, reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, 6th chapter, texts 4 and 5. Mahā Vishnu Jagatkarta Mayaya Yat Srijan Yada Tasya Vavatar Evayam Advaita Acharya Ishvara. Lord Advaita Acharya is the incarnation of Mahā Vishnu, whose main function is to create the cosmic world through the actions of Maya. Text number 5. Advaitam Harina Advaitan Acharyam Bhakta Samsanat Bhaktavataram Isham Tam Advaita Acharyam Ashraye. Because he is non-different from Hari, the Supreme Lord, he is called Advaita. And because he propagates the cult of devotion, he is called Acharya. He is the Lord and the incarnation of the Lord's devotee. Therefore, I take shelter of him. So just from Srila Prabhupada's introduction, I wanted to read something that's very, very important about Advaita Acharya. This is the beginning of chapter 6. That Advaita, the superintendent of the cosmic manifestation, has descended in the form of Advaita Acharya to associate with Lord Chaitanya. When he is addressed as the servitor of Lord Chaitanya, his glories are magnified, because unless one is invigorated by this mentality of servitorship, one cannot understand the mellows derived from devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. Om Jnana-timirandasya ganam jana sharakaya chakshurumilitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupakada mahyam tadati swaparantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatya Rishatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Acharya Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. So this is very important what Srila Prabhupada says here in his introduction, which is why Advaita Acharya and why Lord Chaitanya himself take the form of the Lord's devotee. Because the devotee is so dear to Lord Chaitanya that if one does not worship his devotee, one cannot have access to the Lord, because the only access is through Shuddha Bhakti. Shuddha Bhakti is the only access. And therefore the Lord comes in the form of his devotee to manifest the supreme manifestation of Shuddha Bhakti or Mahabhava, the most wonderful manifestation. But because it is very difficult to experience Mahabhava, Sri Advaita Acharya, of course Nityananda Prabhu also, Nityananda Prabhu always considers that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is his Lord and Master and considers himself his servant. No. But he acts most of the time as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Advaita Acharya specifically takes the form of a devotee. Therefore he is called Bhaktavatar, the one who comes as the devotee of the Lord, always very anxious to maintain this position of being his servant. And we'll speak about that a little later, how that became a competition between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Advaita Acharya. So this is such an important thing. He doesn't have to appear as a devotee, but we'll discuss a little later on why he took the position of a devotee. Because the Lord is the one person who can teach us how to worship himself. No one else can actually teach us, of course, except Srimati Radharani. And therefore the Lord accepts that manifestation, and his first expansion, Nityananda Prabhu, serves that cause. And Advaita Acharya and everyone in the Parampara serves that cause of establishing the worship of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Shishi Radha Krishna as the supreme manifestation of worship. So I wanted to read, I think it's text number 12 with the purport, and then we'll discuss some of this, because this is a summary of the reality of Advaita Acharya as we just read. He's Advaita because he's non-different from Krishna. And he's Acharya because he came to teach devotional service. Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Guna Dhama Mangala Charita Saddha Mangala Jandra Nama Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Guna Dhama Mangala Charita Saddha Mangala Jandra Nama Mangala Advaita Mangala Duna Dhamma Mangala Charita Sada Mangala Janda Nama Mangala Mangala Dvaita Mangala Guna Dhamma Mangala Charita Sadha Mangala Jana Nama Jagat Mangala Dvaita Mangala Dunadama Mangala Charita Saddha Mangala Jandra Dama Mangala Mangala Dvaita Mangala Dunadama Mangala Charita Saddha Mangala Jandra Dama. Vaishnavis. Jagat Mangala Dvaita Mangala Dunadama Mangala Charita Saddha Mangala Jandra Nama Jagat Mangala, all auspicious for the world. Advaita Acharya Mangala Guna Dhama, the reservoir of all auspicious attributes. Mangala Charitra, all characteristics are auspicious. Sadā, always. Mangala, auspicious. Janranama, whose name. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Being a reservoir of all auspicious attributes, Sri Advaita Acharya is all auspicious for the world. His characteristics, activities, and name are always auspicious. Everyone can please repeat. Being a reservoir of all auspicious attributes, Sri Advaita Acharya is all auspicious for the world. His characteristics, activities, and name are always auspicious. Purport. Sri Advaita Prabhu, who is an incarnation of Mahavishnu, is an Acharya or teacher. All his activities and all other activities of Vishnu are auspicious. Anyone who can view the all auspiciousness in the pastimes of Lord Vishnu also becomes auspicious simultaneously. Therefore, since Lord Vishnu is the fountainhead of all auspiciousness, anyone who is attracted by the devotional service of Lord Vishnu can render the greatest service to the human society. Rejected persons of this material world who refuse to understand pure devotional service as the eternal function of the living entities and as actual liberation of the living entity from conditioned life become bereft of all devotional service because of their poor fund of knowledge. In the teachings of Advaita Prabhu, there is no question of fruitive activities or impersonal liberation. Bewildered by the spell of the material energy, however, persons who could not understand that Advaita Prabhu is non-different from Vishnu wanted to follow him with their impersonal conceptions. This attempt of Advaita Prabhu to punish them is also auspicious. Lord Vishnu and his activities can bestow all good fortune directly and indirectly. In other words, being favored by Lord Vishnu and being punished by Lord Vishnu are one and the same because all activities of Vishnu are absolute. According to some, Mangala was another name of Advaita Prabhu. As the causal incarnation, or Lord Vishnu's incarnation for a particular occasion, he is the supply agent or ingredient in material nature. However, he is never to be considered material. All his activities are spiritual. Anyone who hears about and glorifies him becomes glorified himself, for such activities free one from all kinds of misfortune. One should not invest any material contamination or impersonalism in the Vishnu form. Everyone should try to understand the real identity of Lord Vishnu, for by such knowledge one can attain the highest stage of perfection. So Advaita Acharya, in the first verses of this chapter, it says that Mahavishnu is the initial cause of, or the efficient cause, or initial cause of the whole cosmic manifestation. That means that by his meditation, everything happens. Then he expands himself. Of course, we know he expands himself into Garbhodakshay Vishnu and Kshirodakshay Vishnu. But then he expands himself as Sadā Shiva. Sadā Shiva is the last incarnation of the Lord within the spiritual world. And he manifests himself as Shambhu, or Lord Shiva. And therefore Shambhu is always meditating on him, the cause of the original full Vishnu manifestation. And Lord Shiva is the partial Vishnu manifestation who deals with the cosmic world. So therefore Advaita Acharya is said in the form of Sadā Shiva. Sadā Shiva creates the positive situation for the creation of the material world. Otherwise, Lord Shiva comes to punish those who do not take up devotional service and to help those who are hopelessly lost in material existence and have taken inferior, subtle forms of ghosts and etc. Lord Shiva brings them to some degree of following the Vedas so that they can become elevated. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada says here in his purport that Advaita Acharya is awarding and punishing. How is he awarding? No. So then, to understand that, we go a little bit into Advaita Acharya's appearance. He appeared, of course, as the Lord arranged, and the Lord always arranges that many people, many of his incarnations and his devotees come before him. So Advaita Acharya was one of the first. And so he was living in Navadvip, and he would unite all of the devotees to come together and worship the Lord, worship Krishna. But there were so few people who were doing it, and everyone was engaged in worshiping Chandi and different incarnations of Durga. And they were only interested in chanting the name of Lord Govinda when it came as part of a mantra. Although they had no real understanding of Govinda. So Advaita Acharya, all of the devotees were very distressed. So Advaita Acharya, one day there was kirtan going in the house of Shivas, and the Brahmins, many times we see that it was apparently the Muslims who attacked Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan, but it was actually the Brahmins. No. The Brahmins, the corrupted Brahmins, no. They were very envious of the Vaishnavas because the Vaishnavas were giving devotional service freely, no charge, no. Encouraging everyone to chant the holy name. And the Brahmins thought, this will ruin our business. No. Our business is to, we give some mantras, we purify people, and then they give us a donation. So with this free devotional service, this is not very auspicious for us. They first went against Advaita Acharya, Srivas, and they came to the house of Srivas and said, don't you realize that what you're doing will cause the Qazi to come here? But actually the Qazi didn't come because of that. He came because the Brahmins complained to him. And so they said, if you continue to chant like this, we will break your house down and throw it into the Ganga. And so the devotees became very disturbed. They went to Advaita Acharya and told him what had happened. And Advaita became very angry. And he said, And they asked him because they realized that he was an incarnation of the Lord. So they said, will you please stop that? Please remedy this situation. And Advaita said, I cannot do it. Only Krishna himself can do this. And therefore I will pray. I will pray for his advent. And if he doesn't come, I will take my Sudarshan chakra and cut off the heads of all these infidels. But the best thing, for Kali Yuga is not to kill the demons, but to kill the demoniac tendency within the heart. Because everyone has that tendency to some degree in Kali Yuga. Only persons like Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, etc., are parampara. They come from Vaikuntha to save, to give us the possibility. And some of their most sincere followers, they have taken up pure devotional service. Otherwise, everyone else has a demoniac tendency within the heart. So, so therefore, Advaita, he said, I must pray for the Lord to come. Otherwise, I cannot do this. This to change the hearts of these people who are so influenced by Maya. This can only be done by Krishna himself. So he began to meditate, how will I do this? And one mantra came to his mind. Tulsi dalamatrena jalasya chulakena va vikiti ne swam atmanam bhaktebhyo bhaktavatsalaha. That when the Lord becomes conquered by the love of his devotee who simply offers him water with tulasi. So he thought, let me do this. Let me worship the Lord in this way. He was considering himself. When the Lord considers himself a devotee, it's not like he's thinking, let me act like a devotee. Like we may do, we may act like a devotee, but sometimes our heart is not fully purified. But when the Lord does this, his yoga maya takes over, and he sees himself as a devotee. He sees himself in that way. So Advaita Acharya was with loud calls. He was calling out the name of the Lord. Please come, please come, please come. And of course the Lord heard him. And it's stated many times throughout Chaitanya Charitamrita that this was the main cause of Lord Chaitanya's advent in this world, was the petition. Otherwise, the Lord will only appear by the desire of his pure devotees. And therefore Krishna himself states, Paritarnaya sadhunam, that I come for the pleasure of my devotees, for delivering my devotee. One time, Srila Prabhupada explained in one class that if the sadhus are already delivered, why does the Lord say he comes to deliver them? And Srila Prabhupada said, because he brings his devotees to higher degrees of devotional service, especially by putting them into difficulty. Not us. We get a little bit of difficulty. But the difficulty that his pure devotees get, like Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, they got so many difficulties. And that deepened their devotion. What to speak of, other devotees throughout the history of the Bhagavatam. Gajendra, of course he wasn't necessarily in the platform of pure devotion at that time, but dragged down Rantidev, tested to the point of death. All of these, but they never wavered, because they do this. The Lord does this so that the Lord's devotee becomes more dependent on him, and also so that we will understand that just as these devotees undergo hardships and still maintain their faith and increase their faith, we should also do the same. This is our example. So, Advaita Acharya was the first one to have darshan of Lord Chaitanya. When Lord Chaitanya was in the womb, of Sachi Devi. One day, Jagannath Mishra saw Advaita Acharya. He was coming, and he greeted him, but he walked right past him. And he went up to Sachi Devi, and he began to offer prayers to her womb. And then he took tilak and put designs on his womb, and Jagannath Mishra was thinking, what's happening to Advaita Acharya? Why is he doing that? And then he circumambulated Sachi Devi. And then he went to leave, and Jagannath Mishra said, "My dear Advaita, what are you doing?" And he said, "You will know, you will find out." And he left. So he was the one, he knew from the very beginning. So then Lord Chaitanya advented, and he revealed himself, first of all, to Srivas, and then revealed himself to Murari Gupta. And after that, the devotees began to realize that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, after Lord Nityananda appeared, meaning Lord Nityananda came to join his pastimes, and they had their wonderful milana, where they embraced each other, rolled on the ground, cried incessantly, bathed each other with tears. So now, Lord Chaitanya wanted Advaita Acharya to join the Sankirtan movement directly with him. So he sent Ramai, the younger brother of Srivas. He said, "Go to Advaita and tell him that person for whom he has prayed is here in Navadvip, and he should come immediately." So Ramai went, and he said, so Advaita, first of all, he said to Ramai, "So you have come to give me a message from the Lord," because he knows he's within the heart of everyone. And Ramai said, "You know everything, but I will tell you anyway. Lord Chaitanya is requesting you to come and worship him." Of course, he didn't say Lord Chaitanya. And so Advaita went into ecstasy. And in his ecstasy, he said, "What scripture is there that says that the Lord will appear in Kali Yuga? Where is that scripture?" And then he went into more ecstasy, meditating that the Lord is so merciful that he has come. And he said, "Why did you come? What did you want from me?" And then Ramai repeated, "You should come." And he went back ecstasy, and he fell unconscious. And then he woke up again, and he said, "Why have you come?" He said, "The Lord wants you to come." And he went into ecstasy. He told his wife, even Achyutananda, who was just a little 3-year-old, 4-year-old boy at that time, he was crying in ecstasy. And Sita Devi was crying in ecstasy. And Advaita Acharya. So Advaita gather all the paraphernalia for worship. And then they began to leave. And he told Ramai, "I want to see if this person is really my Lord. Tell him that Advaita is not coming. I will go to the house of Nandana Acharya. Tell him he's not coming. Don't tell him I'm coming." And so he went, and Ramai came back to Lord Chaitanya, and he said, "Advaita Acharya said he's not coming." And he said, "I know Advaita very well. He is in the house of Nandana Acharya. Go and get him immediately, tell him to come." So he went, and he said, now I know that he is my Lord." Of course, Advaita Acharya knew, but he wanted to show us that we should not accept on someone's word that there is an incarnation. No, we don't accept it. We must see from Shastra, we must see from revelation that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he wanted to show us. No. And then he came, and he was so blissful. He began to glorify Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya began to glorify him. And then he began his worship. And in Chaitanya Bhagavat it says, his worship was done according to the Pancharatrika regulations, showing us that we cannot invent our own system of worship. Everything must be done by parampara. No. It's very common that people rely on their own intelligence, especially after someone's been a devotee for 20 years, 25 years. 30 years, sometimes we start to think, oh, I know it all. I'm a surrendered devotee. And we forget to offer our obeisances to all the Vaishnavas. And we forget, because offering obeisances doesn't mean we come together after Mangalartik and we say Vancha Kalpatarubha. It doesn't mean that. It means that you see all the devotees as Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada wrote 2 letters that I remember. There may be more. Where one devotee said, Srila Prabhupada, I think it was Tusta Krishna Prabhu. And he said, Srila Prabhupada, I love you, I want to follow you, I will do everything you say, but I'm having trouble with the devotees. And Srila Prabhupada said in his reply, that is very unfortunate, because in the spiritual world there are only devotees. So you cannot. And on another occasion, a devotee was complaining about the other devotees. And he said, so-and-so Prabhu did this and that. And Srila Prabhupada said, you said Prabhu? Prabhu means master. So you're telling me that your master has committed some problem, something inauspicious. No, Prabhu means master. It does not mean servant. If you say Prabhu, you must accept him as master. So Srila Prabhupada was instructing us. The Vaishnavas are our masters. If we have the very difficult service of instructing others, it's not an easy service. No. Sometimes out of false ego, it becomes too easy. And we think, this devotee is, let me tell him what to do. No. But we don't do that. No. So this is very important, that we see all the devotees in the proper way. So Advaita performed the worship according to the parampara, offering all kinds of wonderful ingredients, and then he personally washed the lotus feet of the Lord, and again with his tears of ecstasy. And then Lord Chaitanya began to speak about the glories of Advaita. He said, he is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the greatest personality. Everyone should worship him. Anyone who does not worship him and worships Krishna and does not worship him will not be satisfied. Then Advaita said, anyone who worships me but doesn't worship you is the worst pashandi, the worst sinner, miserable personality, and he will never have any access to devotional service. And then Lord Chaitanya began to glorify Advaita Acharya again. And he told all of the devotees that you must worship him and serve him. And then Advaita Acharya began to glorify Lord Chaitanya. And he said that, so then Lord Chaitanya said, Advaita, please ask me for something, some blessing. And Lord Chaitanya, Advaita said, my Lord, you are within my heart. You know everything. You know what I need. No. But if you want, I will make one request. Please, by your mercy, bring all the living entities to the platform of pure devotional service. Shuddha Bhakti. No. Shuddha Bhakti. Please do this for me. The only persons who will be excluded are those who are offenders to the holy name. No. Those who offend the devotees, and those who offend you, and those who offend they should be punished. But even then, his thinking of punishment was, let them be punished by suffering, and then they will realize their foolishness. No one is excluded. But they were excluded from immediately receiving, he said, drunkards, no problem. No, dog eaters, no problem. Give them your mercy. But the offenders, they cannot have your mercy. And of course, this became manifest later on when Shiva, during the Mahapraharana Lila, Shiva said, please give your prema bhakti to Mother Shachi Devi. And Lord said, I cannot do that. Why can you not? My Lord, please. This is a very bad joke, Shiva said. Shachi Devi is the mother of the universe. She is worshipped by all of us. How can you say that you will not give her full Shuddha Bhakti. And he said, no, I cannot do it. I cannot give her Prema Bhakti because she has offended a devotee. And Shiva he couldn't say anything. He said, she has offended Advaita Acharya. My Lord, please don't say these things. No, she has offended. So immediately they went to bring Lord Advaita Acharya. And Advaita Acharya said, he came before the Lord. And Shiva said, Lord Chaitanya cannot give Prema Bhakti to Mother Sachi because he says she has offended you. Advaita Acharya became angry. He said, how can this be? She is the greatest devotee of all. She is none other than Mother Yashoda. How can you say this? And then he began to glorify Mother Sachi. And meditating on her glories, he lost consciousness. And Mother Sachi ran up to him and grabbed his lotus feet and put them on her head. And Lord Chaitanya said, now she can have Prema Bhakti. No. Otherwise, offending a Vaishnava is so dangerous. No. We have to be so careful. Sometimes in the beginning, we come to devotional service and we see all the devotees as, Vaikuntha residents. But then we see they have there's a little bit of Maya still. No? And we began to think negatively of devotees. No? And that's when that's when the difficulties in devotional service began. We began to discriminate. This devotee is like this. Although there is some discrimination. Rupa Goswami has informed us. If someone is chanting the holy name, you must respect them. You must see this is a devotee. He may be not a very solid devotee, but he is a devotee. You must respect them in your mind. In Skanda Purana, it says there are 6 pathways to hellish mentality. And the last one is, if you're not happy when you see a Vaishnava, even though they may not be in our group, they may not be in ISKCON, but we don't exclude them. If someone is a Vaishnava, we respect them. We're happy to see them. We may not share the same mood of devotional service with them, because Krishna is Vaidurya. He is unlimited facets and he accepts everyone's service. And our service is the service prescribed by Srila Prabhupada. And there that's the mood we worship. But we don't exclude other Vaishnavas because they don't have that mood. We should be happy to see them. And so important. Therefore, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would always, when anyone would offer him obeisances or any kind of honor, he would say, Dasoshmi. He would say, I am your servant. I am accepting this position as Guru, as Acharya, because I want to serve you. That is the only thing. So Advaita Acharya established this fact in his first meeting with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then, as the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya began to manifest, there would be regular kirtans in the house of Shivas. And in one of those kirtans, Advaita became so ecstatic in his dancing, because even from the very first meeting, Lord Chaitanya told him, dance. The very first meeting, and he began dancing in ecstasy. And the devotees were playing different kirtan, different melodies of kirtan. When the melody was very quick, he would dance and jump in the air. And when it was slow and sweet, he would dance. As Prabhupada taught us the Swami step, like this. And he danced in different ways, showing everyone how to dance. Because Lord Chaitanya showed us everything, even how to dance. Srila Prabhupada showed us how to eat. Even when Srila Prabhupada came back to Vrindavan the first time, he was speaking with his friend, Bhagavat, and he told him, I had to teach them everything. And even how to clean themselves after using the bathroom. He said they were using paper. He was, Acha! No. This is very amazing. How could this be? Anyway, Prabhupada had to teach everything, just as Lord Chaitanya had to teach us everything. No. This is the nature of parampara. We should not try to invent our own process of devotional service. Therefore, Advaita Acharya is Acharya. He is teaching us. He is teaching us. So, he was dancing so wonderfully that Lord Chaitanya grabbed his lotus feet. And he was trying to put them on his head. And Advaita Acharya was resisting. And Advaita Acharya, so they began almost like wrestling. This is in the kirtan. No? Each one trying to grab each other's lotus feet. But of course, Lord Chaitanya is supreme. So he took Advaita Acharya's feet and put them on his head. And Advaita could not do the same. So Advaita said, my dear Lord, I can see that you're acting improperly. And they had this whole discussion, that why are you trying to do this? I am your servant. I simply want to be your servant. Why do you deny me this opportunity to be your servant? But I can understand, you're the Supreme Lord. You can do anything you want. And I am subjected to your mercy. And therefore I accept your mercy. So this happened. And after some time went by, there was another ecstatic kirtan. And again, Lord Chaitanya took Advaita Acharya and I want the dust of your lotus feet. And Advaita said, my dear Lord, I want to worship you. Any gardener, any mill grinder, any insignificant person can come and get your mercy. But there's one person, Advaita, who cannot get it. Just like Prataparudra said to Lord Chaitanya. He said, anyone can get your mercy except for one Prataparudra. And therefore I will put an earring in my ear and become a sadhu so that I can get your mercy. So Advaita, and then Advaita, he said, therefore my Lord, you can do as you wish. You can punish me, but this is not proper. So he was actually chastising Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya is just stopped. And he ran out of the kirtan and jumped into the Ganga. And so then Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas, they ran and pulled him out of the Ganga. And then so then he told, who did he tell? I'm trying to remember. He told them, I am going to the house of Nandanacharya. He told Srivas, I am going to the house of Nandanacharya. Don't tell anyone. If you tell anyone, you will never see me again. So I'm not going to tell anyone. No. So then he went, and then the next day, he stayed up all night speaking about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna with Nandanacharya. And then the next day, he went to the house. He called Srivas. He said, so Srivas, how is Advaita? And he said, my dear Lord, practically speaking, he is dead. He is not doing anything. He is completely remorseful. He can only not leave his body because he cannot fathom being without your association. But he's practically like a dead person. So he told Srivas, then take me to him. So Lord Chaitanya went, and Advaita was there, and he was just looking wrong. He offered his obeisances, but he didn't say anything. So he said, my dear Advaita, sometimes the king has his main minister, prime minister, and the prime minister is in charge of paying the guards. They give them their salary. But if the prime minister does something wrong, the king tells the guards who he's paying to take him to prison and punish him. He said, you should not be disturbed because you are being punished. So otherwise Lord Chaitanya is showing something very special. It doesn't matter what our position is. If we offend the Lord indirectly or directly or unconsciously or consciously, there must be a punishment. And then Lord Chaitanya said, give this up and chant the holy name. And of course Advaita and Lord Chaitanya embraced him, and Advaita became ecstatic. But within his mind, he was thinking, how can I make Lord Chaitanya into my Lord? Because previously, he had already done this. He had already done this when Lord Chaitanya came to his house. Because first of all, when Lord Chaitanya had left Katwa, had left Navadvip for Katwa for taking sannyas, then Advaita came and saw Mother Sachi sitting like this, and he was saying, "Where is the Lord?" She said, "He has gone. We will not see him again." And Advaita realized that he had gone to take sannyas. And Advaita became so he said, "What is the use of living?" And he began running toward the Ganga. And then a voice came from the sky, that same famous voice that always saves us, came from the sky and said, "Don't worry, he has taken sannyas, but he will come back soon." So Advaita stopped. And so then Lord Chaitanya got the news that Mother Sachi was suffering very much. And he told Nityananda Prabhu, "Go and tell them that I will come." Because Mother Sachi was wandering around saying, "Have you seen Krishna Balaram?" She was completely in ecstasy of separation. And so then Lord Chaitanya said to Nityananda Prabhu, "Let us go to Vrindavan." And they went and they wandered around in Radha Desh. And Lord Chaitanya was starting to think, because he saw no one is chanting the name of Krishna. He was thinking, maybe I should just leave this world. But then finally they came upon some cowherd boys, and they were chanting. And he said, "We must be near the Ganga, because they're chanting the holy name." And they came to the Ganga, and they were very happy. And then Nityananda, so Lord Chaitanya said, "Let us go to Vrindavan now." And Nityananda Prabhu knew that the Lord had to come back to Navadvip. So Nityananda went ahead. Lord Chaitanya was completely in ecstasy, thinking, now I'm on my way to Vrindavan. And Nityananda Prabhu went ahead, and he saw some cowherd boys. And he said, "If you see one sannyasi coming, in ecstasy, tell him that the Yamuna, just point toward the Ganga and say, this is the way to Vrindavan, this is the way to the Yamuna." And so they came there, Lord Chaitanya heard them, and he went immediately to the Ganga, and Nityananda Prabhu was there. And he said, "Just see, here is the Yamuna." And Lord Chaitanya was in ecstasy. He went into the Ganga, who he thought was the Yamuna, and he was bathing. And then Nityananda Prabhu had no fresh cloth to give him. And then Lord Chaitanya saw a boat coming, and Advaita Acharya is in the boat. He brought some fresh cloth. And he said, "Advaita, what are you doing here in Vrindavan?" And he thought, this is very strange. He said, "Nityananda, I think you have tricked me." And Nityananda smiled. And Advaita said, "But actually, my Lord, you are actually bathing in the Yamuna, because the Yamuna comes from the western side, the Ganga, the Yamuna comes from the eastern side, and the Ganga comes from the Yamuna comes from the western side, and therefore you are bathing in the Yamuna." And he said, "Advaita, you have tricked me." And Advaita said, "Anywhere, my dear Lord, anywhere you are, that is Vrindavan." So of course Lord Chaitanya knew that he would come to the house of Advaita Acharya. So Advaita said, "Please come to my house and have your meal. I have some simple vegetables." Simple vegetables. I'm a poor Brahmin. So they arrived, and Advaita received them very wonderfully, sat them down. He actually had 3 places. So the Lord thought all these places were for the deity. But he actually told Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu to sit down. He brought the Lord's plate and he began to distribute to them. And then he began to bring one pot after another, and he would put it in Lord Chaitanya's container. And Lord Chaitanya began to eat. And then after some time, he brought one after another, after another, after another. And he said, I am a sannyasi. You are trying to turn me into a pashandi. No. What are you doing? No. And so Advaita said, no, I will just give you half. No. And then you can take just a few simple vegetables. And he had unlimited quantities. And whenever Lord Chaitanya would finish half, he would fill it up again. No? And fill it up again, fill it up again. And of course Lord Chaitanya was blissful, but he was trying to maintain the position of sannyasi. And Nityananda Prabhu, who was receiving the same, he said, Advaita, who are you? What kind of a Shmarta Brahman are you? I've been fasting for 3 days, and you're just giving me a few grains of rice. You know? And he became very angry, and Advaita said, just be quiet. You're just an avaduta. No one knows what is your past, what kind of activities you performed previously. No one knows. And so then Advaita, and then Nityananda said, you're just a Shmarta Brahman. Simply, you don't know how to treat mendicants, and therefore your life will be very unauspicious. And then they began to argue. And finally Nityananda Prabhu took some grains of rice and said, this is useless. Threw it on the ground. And some of the grains bounced off the ground and struck Advaita's body. And he began to dance in ecstasy. Now I have been blessed by the anger of Nityananda Prabhu. And so anyway, then they took prasadam. They had a wonderful, beautiful kirtan, and so many auspicious and wonderful activities. Then, of course, Lord Chaitanya, the news came to everyone that Lord Chaitanya was in Navadvip, and people, he was in Shantipur, and people came. They crossed the Ganga, even holding on to something. People who did not know how to swim, they were holding on to something. Some people came in, so many people in the boat that the boats capsized, and they all grabbed onto the boat because they were so anxious to see Lord Chaitanya. And they had one huge big festival. And then Lord Chaitanya left. Everyone was dismayed. No. So now Advaita Acharya, he was thinking, how can I make Lord Chaitanya, how can I make him realize me as a devotee? I will preach Vashishta. No. I will preach the philosophy of impersonalism. No. This is why here Srila Prabhupada says, in the teachings of Advaita Acharya, there is no question of fruitive activities or impersonal liberation. But he began to teach, no, the philosophy of just monism. And Lord Chaitanya heard about this, and he said, Nityananda, we must go and find out what is happening with Advaita. So they left, and they had some pastimes with a Daridra sannyasi. And after they gave blessings to him, this had a very meaningful purpose. Advaita, I will punish him, but this Daridra, even though this so-called sannyasi had a female assistant, who was like his wife, basically, and invited them to drink wine. No, still, Lord Chaitanya blessed him. And Vrindavan Das Thakur says, anyone, drunkards, rascals, they will all receive Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Only the Mayavadis will not. And then he arrived. So after the sannyasi offered them wine, Nityananda and Chaitanya jumped in the Ganga and they swam to the house of Advaita. And they came to the door. Lord Chaitanya was beating on the door. And Advaita opened the door. And Lord Chaitanya embraced him, but then began beating his back and saying, "You called me. I was sleeping on the ocean of milk very peacefully. And you called me to this material world, to establish devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But now you are defying me and teaching the opposite." And he beat him more. And Malati was there, and she said, "He's an old man. Don't treat him so roughly." And Sita Devi was practically fainting, And then Advaita began to dance in ecstasy. "Finally, you have accepted me as your servant." And then they embraced each other. And Advaita said, "My Lord, if anyone worships me somehow or another, or has favorable disposition to me but doesn't worship you, I will chastise them." And Lord Chaitanya said just the opposite. And then they embraced again, had a big, beautiful, wonderful kirtan. And Advaita felt so happy. Now the Lord has chastised me. Now I am his servant. Of course, Lord Chaitanya always accepted him, but he wanted to teach us the Guru Varga, that one must respect the God brothers, because Advaita Acharya was the God brother of Ishwara Puri, and therefore he showed him so much respect. So everything in all the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the pastimes of Advaita Acharya, there are these teachings to teach us the proper Vaishnava etiquette, how we deal with Vaishnavas, how we deal with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how we perform devotional service. And Advaita Acharya was the main personality to teach all of these things. So there are so many wonderful pastimes. I will just conclude with one more, because there's no breakfast today, so we can just take a little bit more time. So when Lord Chaitanya was in Jagannath Puri, he would accept prasadam from the houses of different Brahmins. But then one Brahmin requested Lord Chaitanya's assistant, Govinda. He said, "I want to serve him." So he said, "No, the Lord only accepts prasadam in the house of a Lakpati." So when the Brahmin heard that, he thought, Lord Chaitanya is just interested in money? Lakpatis? And so he expressed that to Govinda, and Govinda said, no. It means only those who would chant 1 lakh of names, he will accept prasadam in their house. So everyone understood the standard. But then Advaita Acharya thought, I want him to accept prasadam in my house. So he invited Lord Chaitanya. But because he invited Lord Chaitanya, he had to invite all of the sannyasis. And so all of the sannyasis were ready to come to the house of Advaita. And Lord Chaitanya came. Lord Chaitanya came, sun was shining, he came. But everywhere else, there was a huge storm. Wind and hail and rain and cold. I mean, this is the time of Rath Yatra. This is like the hottest time of the year. And this storm came, and none of the sannyasis could leave, because Advaita Acharya knew that if Lord Chaitanya comes and all the sannyasis are there, after the experience that Lord Chaitanya had with Ramachandra Puri, that he will only accept a few morsels. So therefore he prayed to Indra, please create a storm so that no one will come except for Lord Chaitanya. And Indra, yes, I will do that. And so Lord Chaitanya arrived, and Advaita had a huge feast. And so Lord Chaitanya said, oh, I hear that you have been worshipping Indra. No? Lord Chaitanya knew what had happened. But then he sat down, he ate everything. And Advaita Acharya was so happy, that he had took every morsel. But of course, if the sannyasis would have come, he would have just taken a little bit, and so Srila Prabhupada said, eat to please yourself and dress to please others. Of course, for brahmacharis, that's not so. But still, we should look neat. We should look neat and orderly. But we wear the same clothes every day. No difficulty. Oh, what will I wear? Red, green, blue? No. Very easy. Even externally speaking. So anyway, Advaita Acharya, after that, his final pastime with Lord Chaitanya was when Lord Chaitanya, it was the appearance day of Madhavendra Puri. And so Advaita Acharya arranged this big, beautiful feast. And he had, within his house, he had different storerooms. And every one of them he filled with bhoga, grains and ghee and everything. It was tons and tons of prasadam. And then he had this wonderful feast for Madhavendra Puri, and Lord Chaitanya came. And of course he was worshipping Madhavendra Puri and Ishwara Puri and Advaita Acharya as superiors. And Advaita began to worship him and offered him the first plate of remnants from Madhavendra Puri. And they had another wonderful, big, beautiful kirtan. For all these kirtans would go on for 12 hours, 24 hours, sometimes 72 hours. And the only time they would stop is to take a little prasadam. No sleeping, only a little prasadam to have energy to keep dancing. So anyway, these are some pastimes of Sri Advaita Acharya. There are many more, but it would take us a long time to cover all of them, and I probably can't remember all of them anyway. So anyway, this is my humble contribution for today. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for a wonderful, inspiring class. My question is, when Advaita Acharya was preaching this impersonal philosophy, and then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and said, why you are doing this? I have just come for your, because you called me, and I was taking rest on casual ocean. So my question is, Maharaj, why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say that he was resting on casual ocean? Because he's Krishna, Swam Krishna only, so he's not expansion, he's not Mahavishnu, he's direct Krishna himself. So why he's saying that I was resting there and you called me? He's Swam, Radha Krishna, Swam himself.
Yes, he said that this is just Leela. This is just Leela, because whenever there's an argument between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, these are all Leela, just like it says in the verse that we read, Mangala Charita, Mangala Guna, Mangala Charita, Mangala Nama. So everything is auspicious in their activities, and therefore, just like sometimes God brothers come together and they may joke, but the disciple doesn't come and joke with the guru. So, but between equals, or of course there's no one equal to Lord Chaitanya, but between incarnations they have these pastimes. And just like when Advaita Acharya, when Nityananda and Haridas Thakur went to meet with Jagai and Madai. Jagai and Madai began to chase them, and they were arguing with one another. Haridas said, just see your false compassion. Just see what's gotten into, will be killed. And Nityananda Prabhu said, Haridas, you are supposed to be the representative of the holy name. You have no compassion for the devotee. No? And so they were arguing. But this is all lila. No? So that's why. It's not that Lord Chaitanya didn't remember that he came for that purpose. But this is just lila. No? So I hope that answers your question. Hare Krishna. Any more comments or questions? Yes. Here it comes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj ji, Danod Pranam.
Speak a little louder because I didn't bring my ear apparatuses.
Hare Krishna Maharaj ji, Danod Pranam.
Hare
As you
Krishna.
said that in our initial period during our bhakti, we worship all the devotees, but
Yeah.
later on we start judging. So how to overcome this? I mean,
Well, we follow follow Rupa Goswami's instructions. For someone who may not have the best practice of devotional service, we worship them in the mind. You know, we respect them in our mind, but we may not want to associate with them because their habits are not very good. But someone who is on the same level of devotional service, we enthusiastically serve together with them. You know. Those are the devotees we associate with our contemporaries. But someone who is more elevated, you know, then we serve them and we worship them through our service. You know. So that's we understand. Rupa Goswami gives us 3 standards for the neophyte. No, or for the Kanishta Adhikari, we respect them in our mind. You know. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that actually Kanishta Adhikaris are not real Vaishnavas. They are only Vaishnavas by the mercy of real Vaishnavas. But we consider them Vaishnavas because they have received the mercy of the Parampara. You know. And Madhyam Adhikaris, we should see them in terms of friendship. And Uttamadhikaris, we should serve them and worship them. And so, of course, Madhyamadhikaris who may be more advanced than us, then we also serve them. So Rupa Goswami established the different levels of respect and service. But the point is there should always be respect. Even if someone has very bad habits. Even in the 7th chapter of Adi Lila, Srila Prabhupada comments that even the Sahajiyas, they are some kind of Vaishnava. And therefore, within the mind, we have some respect for them. But we don't associate with them, nor do we accept their conclusions. But because they are devotees, but they're just very confused. And so we respect them to some degree. What to speak of real devotees who may be neophyte, may be struggling with Maya, struggling with so many different aspects of trying to become a devotee. But we still respect.
thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Advaita Acharya ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Hare Krishna.